Let's go back to our top story on Morning News today now. And joining us in the studio is Professor Kwandewe Kondla from the University of Johannesburg. Professor, good morning and thank you very much for your time.
Good morning, good morning.
We've seen the ANC now reacting to the expulsion of Numsa from Cosatu as a tragedy. And we had Numsa, just before you arrived in the studio, we were playing a clip by Evan James from Numsa saying that why do they say it's a tragedy? They're like crying at a wrong funeral. It just looks like this is a mess. And the workers are going to suffer at the end of it.
Yes, it is quite unfortunate. And I can understand why the ANC also sees it as unfortunate. For an organization, I'm talking now about the African National Congress, whose percentages in terms of majority support during elections are actually facing a downward trend. This is not a welcome event. The split within Cosatu. But it was inevitable, looking at the ideological orientation of Cosatu, an organization which in many respects is towing the line of the ruling ANC elite. And Numsa is actually providing an opportunity for an alternative path for South Africa's development. And unfortunately, this is dividing the Cosatu, but let's wait for a very important opportunity when ordinary workers within Cosatu are going to make their voices heard.
And
that's what I'm waiting for.
When is that opportunity?
That opportunity should come once there is a Cosatu Congress. That opportunity should come once there is a Cosatu Special Congress, if the leadership of Cosatu
and that is what Numsa has been calling for.
This is what Numsa has been calling for.
The Cosatu leadership under the President Duma Dlamini has said it's not the time for that yet, that they've been resisting that.
Yes, they've been finding technical reasons to resist that. At the same time, you do understand them, that is Mr. Dlamini as leadership, why they wouldn't like a special Congress, because look, it may further open a lot of can of worms, and nobody is sure whether he won't lose his position should the organization go into a special Congress. Is
one of those worms from that can Zwelinzima Vavi? I mean, some of the headlines this morning are saying Vavi is in a tough position now. It's time for him to make a big call. If you look at Business Day, we have here in the studio with us, Moment of Truth for Vavi, says the headline in the Business Day this morning.
I think it's very clear that after they've dealt with Numsa the way they have, the next move is going to be to deal with Mr. Vavi's issue or issues. And I really don't expect that they would soft pedal in dealing with his issues. I still think they're going to be hard in dealing with him.
Okay, well, we'll find out what Vavi has got to say. Especially today, we understand some of the unions which are supporting Numsa, who are part of Cosatu, are going to be holding their own briefings today. And Numsa is going to be going around the country consulting its workers. We'll find out exactly what this means, because Evan Jim has already alluded to a formation of the United Front in December, and saying they're going to be consulting all like-minded organizations from the left, including the EFF, for example.
If I were to advise Numsa, I would actually advise them to take a much long-term view, even though with short-term and medium-term gains. But they need a long-term view, because to dislodge a hegemonic project, you must not be excited and look for immediate goals.
Do you think at the moment the emotions seem to be a bit high from the language that is being used, that people are actually thinking rationally in terms of long term?
Well, I'm not sure whether Numsa does have a long-term view, but I would be worried to see a situation whereby they waste a lot of energy fighting and barking at the ANC rather than working towards building support for a much bigger picture.
Okay, well, 2016 is in their sights at the moment as we hear the local elections. They want to talk about that. That's in the medium term, so to speak, from 2 years from now. And long term, we'll find out what's going to happen. Now, let's take a bigger picture. Is this the beginning of the end of Cosatu as we've known it historically since the 1980s?
Unless a major intervention happens, it actually is the beginning of the end of the kind of Cosatu that we know it to be radical, to be politically independent, to be charting and championing the agenda of the working class. That's the end of it.
And will it change the texture of the tripartite alliance?
The texture of the tripartite alliance is changing. And this is contributing to more changes, because now the tripartite alliance, if you don't toe the line of the ruling elite in the ANC, see what happened with the Youth League. The Women's League is actually mute. Now it's the working class organization. Everybody just has to toe a certain line, you see, which is ideological, and in the end, which is part of the whole package of a negotiated settlement.
The workers in the long run, would they, in your view, would they benefit by staying in under such a setup politically, or by being under the umbrella of a more vocal, more independent and vibrant organization that Numsa claims that it wants to be?
Workers will need to decide, but this also depends on the levels of development of critical consciousness amongst the working class. Because workers with a critical consciousness who wants to assert an independent agenda will definitely follow Numsa and support Numsa. But workers who have been bought and are loyal to particular interests within the broader tripartite alliance will not leave Cosatu. They will stay in there, you see. But at the same time, we're still hoping that an intervention may happen whereby this split is not permanent, because we all would have loved to see a united Cosatu.
Thank you very much. That's Professor Kwandiwe Kondlo from the University of Johannesburg.